Hi, I'm Pete. I'm the Pokemon League leader here over at Top Deck Cards and Games. And today we're going to go over a very recent deck that is currently becoming very popular within the Pokemon card game metagame. And most of these cards are from the Plasma Freeze set, which was just recently released a couple weeks ago. And what this deck is basically it's been coined popularly as TDK, in which it utilizes cards from the new set, Thunderstorm EX, Deoxycx, and a neat little tech with Team Plasma's Kyro. Now, it's as a disclaimer, this deck currently at the moment is rather expensive to put together. Since this is a fairly new set and these involve a lot of rare cards, this deck can range anywhere between about overall cost of $200 to $300, give or take pricing and fluctuations. So it's definitely an investment for this deck, but this deck has a very high potential to dominate in tournaments. This is a very key thing to know because currently Battle Road's circulation has just recently started. So this deck was going to give you some insight on how this works and how it can potentially give you an upper hand during future tournament play. So starting off with the deck, our main attraction of this deck is Thunderstorm EX. Now, Thunderstorm EX, he is a Team Plasma Pokemon with 170 HP. He is an EX Pokemon, so he's susceptible to the 2 prize rule. When he gets knocked out, your opponent takes 2 prizes. So, his 2 attacks. His first one here, being for 1 Lightning Energy, Ride Knuckle, does 30 damage to the defending Pokemon. Now, it has an additional effect to where you can attach an energy card from your discard pile to one of your benched Team Plasma Pokemon. Now, it states energy card. It does not state basic, it does not state special, it just says energy. So it can be any energy card out of your discard pile. It can be a lightning energy, it can be a Team Plasma energy, it can be any kind of energy that's in there. You can pull and you can put on your Team Plasma Pokemon. Now, it's a key thing to note that this deck runs nothing but Team Plasma Pokemon, so this is a huge benefit. For support, we have Deoxycx. This is a guy that generally just kind of hangs out on your bench. He is a basic Team Plasma Pokemon, EX, as well. Has 170 HP. He has an ability and 1 attack. His ability is Power Connect. Your Team Plasma Pokemon's attacks, excluding Deoxycx, do 10 more damage to the active Pokemon before you apply weakness and resistance. This is an ability that stacks. The more Deoxycx you have on your bench, the more damage you can deal to the active Pokemon. So right off the bat, you can see that the 1 energy 30 damage from Thundurus is getting amplified by 10 for each one of these on your bench. Since you can only have a limit of 4 of a Pokemon in your deck, you can cap this damage out at about 70. 70 damage for 1 energy is really fast and has potential to hurt pretty bad. Especially when you're going up against a Pokemon that has a lot of HP. It's very difficult to take down. Deoxys' second attack, Helix Force. It is 1 Psychic, 1 Colorless, and does 30 plus damage. If this Pokemon has any Plasma Energy attached to it, this attack does 30 more damage for each energy attached to the defending Pokemon. Now, this has the power to essentially just hit very hard, very fast for attackers that use a lot of energy. For example, Mewtwo EX, which Mewtwo is also weak to Psychic, and this is a Psychic type, so that actually turns from a 30 plus to a 60 plus, which is very devastating for a Mewtwo. It's also very effective against a Keldeo EX, who utilizes generally a lot of energy attached to it, in order to deal its damage. So it's definitely a nice tech attack when you need to do a large amount of damage very quickly. Another Pokemon that we utilize in this deck is Team Plasma's Kyurem. This is not an EX Pokemon, it's just a basic regular Pokemon. 130 HP water type. It has 2 attacks, but we're really going to focus on the first one. Its first attack is Frost Spear. It takes 1 water, 1 colorless energy, and does 30 damage. It also deals 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. You do not apply weakness and resistance for your benched Pokemon. So, because this is also Team Plasma Pokemon, it is affected by Deoxycx's ability. So, this is a nice attacker to spread some damage, and also the fact that it runs very little risk as far as you losing prizes, since if it gets knocked out, you're only giving up 1 prize compared to 2. It does take a little bit more energy, but it is accelerated by Thunderous's main attack, Ride Knuckle.
Theoretically, yeah, you can play monocolored cards and dual card decks.
So you could easily get a Prism Energy or a Blend Energy from your discard pile, and you can place it onto your Kyurem. So you could keep doing this to build it up, and when trouble arises and your Thundurus can't do much, you can send out Kyurem to help do about the same amount of damage and spread a little extra on the opponent's bench, soften them up. Definitely a very effective combo. And because this deck utilizes Plasma Energies and Team Plasma Pokemon as a little extra tech, we have added Team Plasma's Lugia EX. This card is an EX Pokemon, a colorless 180 HP. It has an ability and an attack. Its ability is Overflow, which states, if your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack of this Pokemon, take 1 more prize card. This can be very devastating because if you knock out an EX with his attack, you can take 3 prize cards, and that is a huge game changer. Lugia's attack is Plasma Gale. It does 120 damage, requires 4 energy. Discard a Plasma Energy attached to this Pokemon. If you can't discard a Plasma Energy, then this attack does nothing. So, while it does a decent amount and it gets buffed by Deoxycx, you do have to have a Plasma Energy attached, and it must be discarded, which works well with this engine with Thunderous EX's attack. You can easily take that discarded Plasma Energy and reattach it onto Lugia as you need. Very devastating combinations. Now, the way this deck is built up, we're using Team Plasma Energies. We are using Prism Energies. We are using Water, Lightning, Fighting, Steel Blend Energies. And we have teched in a single double color.
Break my heart, man. Break my heart.
To help accelerate Lugia. And how this all works out with its trainer pools, we're using a various amount of supporters to help accelerate. Juniper is an obvious choice because it allows a complete hand refresh, and in certain cases you can get some of your special energies discarded in your discard pile for Thunderous to be able to attach onto your bench. We run the supporter N more offensively than we do defensively. N is usually used later on in the game when there are fewer prizes that your opponent has left to dwindle their hand size down to very small. Make sure that they do not have a whole lot to work with to continue going. We do run Bianca for purposes of having a low hand to help counteract being ends late game, to where if you only have a hand of 2 to 3 cards, you can Bianca back up to 6 and still have options that you can do throughout your turn. We have Skyla, which is very handy to just pull whatever trainer that you need at that moment out, which this deck does utilize pretty decently on trainers, so having Skyla there is pretty critical. We're also running Colress. Colress is more of a situational card, to where if generally you want to have your bench filled, preferably with the Deoxycx's, all of them. And that will just help your Colress out because you draw cards for each bench Pokemon in play, yours and your opponent's. The more that you have out, the more cards you're getting out of Colress. As far as stadiums go, we are running 2 stadiums. We are running Burbank City Gym, which increases all poison damage done by 20. And we are also running Frozen City. Now what Frozen City does is whenever any player attaches an energy from his or her hand to one of his or her own Pokemon, except for Team Plasma Pokemon, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. So that can be very devastating for your opponent, because this deck runs nothing but Team Plasma Pokemon, so you are unaffected completely. And because we're running Burbank City Gym, that means we're also running Hypnotoxic Lasers. Hypnotoxic Lasers are very handy for potential stalling usage, or to just keep a Pokemon locked in the opponent's active position. Hypnotoxic Laser will immediately poison the defending Pokemon, and when you flip a coin, if heads, it will put them to sleep. The poison can be devastating, especially when mixed with the Burbank City Gym. But the sleep can be potentially more devastating because it can potentially lock your opponent into that place. They will not be able to retreat unless they utilize something like a switch or an escape rope to get out of there. With this deck, because we are using a lot of Team Plasma stuff and we're utilizing Team Plasma energy, we're using Colress Machine. Colress Machine searches your deck for a Plasma Energy card and attach it to one of your Team Plasma Pokemon. You shuffle your deck afterwards. It's a very handy acceleration, and just about all Pokemon in this deck utilizes Plasma Energy. We are also running switches to make sure that we are not ourselves locked into the active position and do not have the ability to retreat in case of emergencies. We are running Team Plasma Balls, which makes sense in this deck because Team Plasma Ball allows you to search your deck for Team Plasma Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. You shuffle your deck afterwards. All Pokemon in here are Team Plasma, so this accelerates things very greatly. We are running Float Stones, Pokemon Tools, and what these do is when they're attached to a Pokemon, it allows them to have no retreat cost, which grades helpfully so that way you don't have to discard too much precious energy in order to get out of there if you have the ability to retreat. And so we are also running Ultra Balls and Max Potions. Ultra Balls, while it would make more sense to run more Team Plasma Balls instead of Ultra Ball, the purpose of Ultra Ball is to help discard some of your special energies in your discard that can utilize Thunderstorm's attack to help accelerate the energy onto your Hedge Pokemon. And in dire situations, we have a Max Potion. This will remove all damage onto a Pokemon, but also make them discard all their energy. It comes at a little bit of risk, but Thunderous can also counteract that. So, this is generally the build of the deck, and it has proven so far to be a very fast, a very devastating deck, and it's probably going to be seen decently often in the upcoming tournaments. So, if you're not even wanting to build this deck, it is definitely good to at least see how this deck runs. And if you'd rather run something that can potentially counteract it instead of running it itself, this would be a good way to see how this deck works and what you can do to possibly stop it. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and hopefully this gives you a little bit more insight into the game. I'll see you next time.